couple minutes, you better hang on to your seat because you're in for a treat. Seriously, especially people who love Apple, we're going to need your input. People who have been kind of on their laptop, if you could do me a big favor, just for the next couple minutes, just close it for me. Especially if you don't have an Apple, then you better close it. But I really want you to pay attention because what you're going to get out of this presentation, our group has worked very hard on putting this together, and you're going to get a lot of value out of it. Some of the tips, you never know. You might walk out of this classroom, go buy some Apple stock, and become a very rich man. So I really hope that you pay attention to this, okay? Just by a show of hands, who here is a parent? I just want to... Any parents in the house? Just professor? You're a dad, right? Happy Father's Day. So we got one father, but for the next couple minutes, I just want you to close your eyes and pretend you're a father. So now that you are in that parent mindset, this is your kid right here, right? You've conceived this child, you've taken care of this kid, seen the kid grow up, and you hold them very dear to your heart. You've invested tons of money in the child because, you know, they are expensive, and you've done the best that you can with the resources that you've had. And now you have a happy family. You have things are going well. You're financially stable, but you know you're starting to realize, wow, a couple of these things I could do better, and I don't have that expertise quite yet. So let me seek elsewhere. Let me maybe hire a babysitter, right, and bring that babysitter in to take care of my child. But then it all goes away, and this babysitter leaves you out. They start monopolizing your family. They start acting like this is their child, and before you know it, boom, you're out the door. You sell all your belongings and are only left with a little family picture as memento. Sounds pretty bad, right? Sounds pretty mean. Well, that's exactly what happened to our friend Steve Jobs over at Apple. See, back in 1983, he tapped into John Scully. John Scully was the CEO of Pepsi, making tons of money, but you know what? Steve Jobs just walked up to him, and with his charisma, he told him this famous line right here. He says, "John, do you want to spend the rest of your life selling sugared water, or do you want to get that chance to change the world?" And with that, John Scully left Pepsi and went over to Mac. And just like that babysitter I told you about earlier, kicked poor Steve Jobs out the door, and Steve Jobs walked out with only one share of that Apple stock, that Apple company that he worked so hard to start. So this is just one of the stories, and Steve Jobs and Apple are very intertwined, and it's very important that you pay attention because this is just a little piece of the struggles that Apple has gone through to get to where it's at today. So with that, in 1992, more problems came. And that babysitter story I told you about was just one part of it. So with that, I'll pass it on to Yishi, and he's going to share more about some of those problems.
Take it away, Yishi.
Good evening, everyone. On January 23rd, 2006, Apple announced an internal probe uncovering irregularities related to the company's issuance of stock options granted between 1997 and 2001, when its shares fell 3%. The internal probe resulted in examining more than 650,000 emails, documents, and interviews of more than 40 current and former employees, directors, and advisors of Apple. On August 2nd, 2006, management announced that the company would likely need to restate earnings and delay filing its quarterly SEC report, 10Q, because of additional irregularities the company found in its accounting stock options. And because of this announcement, Apple stock fell another 6.6%. As of November 12, 2006, the company had not yet filed complete SEC required financial statements or SEC 10Q reports for the third and fourth quarters of the year. Now, because Apple has not filed their quarterly report, they were warned by NASDAQ that there could be a possible delisting of their stocks. Other problems aside from the stock option investigation and possible delisting from NASDAQ. On August 3rd, 2006, a French law was forcing Apple Computer to its iPod player and iTunes online store to be compatible with rival offerings. August 24th, 2006, Apple management announced the recall of 1.8 million laptop batteries. October 21st, 2006, the Real Player Music Store announced that it was introducing a new product called Harmony that would let customers download music from the Real Player online store and allow them to use it on any portable music player. Harmony can pose as a potential threat to Apple's iTunes store because this opens the door to Apple's iPod music player competitors.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the current key financial ratios of Apple. We're going to start with the net margin, that is the same as net revenue. As we can see on the graph, over the years it's been increasing, which means that we're doing well on sales. And then we have the asset turnover that shows the company has been more effective in using investment in fixed assets to generate revenues. It's also going up. Then we have the return on assets, where it's the amount of revenue that the company is able to generate from each dollar of assets. Then we have the financial leverage, which is the degree to which a business is utilizing borrowed money. As you can infer from the graph, over those years, the company is running 1.4 times from the total assets. Wow. Then we have the return on equity, which measures how efficient a company is at earning a decent return on the shareholders' money. It's the same thing, it's just going up over the years. The case just goes up to 2006, but it's rising and rising. Then we have the return on invested capital, that is almost the same thing, it's just going up. This is really good. And
yeah, when you think of Apple, you think of Steve Jobs. So just some facts about him. He was born February 25th, 1955. He was actually adopted in the same month that he was born by Paul and Clara Jobs. He graduated high school in Los Altos, California, and he enrolled in Reed College, where he dropped out after just one semester. There's where he met Steve Wozniak. 7 years his elder, he met him through a friend. Steve Wozniak, he was very much into little gadgets and everything. Together they designed and built their first prototype computer named Apple I. With that success, they founded Apple Computer Company, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. There was also kind of like a ghost founder. It was Ron Wayne. He actually he acted as the adult supervisor for them as they were making the company. Okay, there's 7 members in the board of directors, 10 executives, and their average ages in the board of directors is 59.42. These are some of the pictures of the board of directors. Here we have Bill Campbell, Miller Drexel, Al Gore, Steve Jobs. And one of the privileges for working at Apple, the external board members received $50,000 as an annual retainer. They also are eligible to receive up to 2 free computer systems, and they also get a discount on additional products that they want. And on the 4th anniversary for joining the board, they're entitled to receive 30,000 shares of stock. And these are some of the executives that support it.
The external environment. Forces outside an organization that are not typically within the short-run control of top management comprises the definition of a firm's external environment. I have 2 tasks at hand, folks. Number 1, I will analyze the remote environment, including the economic, technological, the societal, and the legal and political environment of the external environment of Apple. Second, I will analyze Apple's past environmental sources using Porter's analysis. Apple's economic external environment created challenges that were difficult but not impossible to overcome. Remember, this is back in 2006. Number one, the economy was slowing down in 2006. Job growth fell, and the raising debt payments on record debt were also happening. With all of this taken into consideration, Apple still had the highest Mac sales in company history, and their iPods were actually increasing in sales way more than what were expected, even with these hardships in place. Apple's technological environment was also on the move. Singular was teaming up with Napster. Spiral Frog, I don't know if you've ever heard of Spiral Frog, it's like a music type deal which is on the internet, also was starting up. Apple had a meeting with all of its executives and its top people to decide what they were going to do about it. They decided that it wasn't a huge threat, and they ended up being right, and they decided to continue on as originally planned. Apple's societal and external environment. I don't know if you remember back in 2006 that Microsoft was the cool company. They're the ones that had everything. They're the ones that started the computer business more or less with Windows and all that. That was starting to shift. Apple was starting to become the cool company, which it kind of remains today. Microsoft is definitely going down in that. That was a big shift. 2006 was a big year for Apple in that regard. Apple's political, legal, external environment, that was a bit more concerning. My buddy Each right there was talking about this earlier. Dell, which was our biggest competitor, they actually had 4.1 million batteries recalled. Apple had 1.8 million batteries recalled in 2008 or 2006. January 3rd, 2006, there was an internal probe because of irregularities on Apple's balance sheet. Well, after an investigation, I'll explain what happened with that, but that was not good. Also, NASDAQ threatened to delist Apple from the list for not filing their third report. These two, the last two things that I stated, those actually threatened Apple's entire existence. Well, what ended up happening is nothing happened. The irregularities ended up, while there were a couple irregularities, Apple never benefited from them. So they kind of dropped the case, and they ended up handing in their third quarter review. So that was also, they were never delisted. So they were able to overcome that adversity. Now, it is my job, I'm going to explain the Porter's 5 forces in regards to Apple. And one is the threat of entry of the new competitors. The main competitors in 2006 with Apple, Dell had 32% market share. HP had 23%. Gateway had 6.4%. We were in the middle of Gateway and Toshiba, which had 5.1%. The threat of substitute products and services was also part number 2, where Apple had 77% market share on the iPods that we were selling, which was the biggest thing that we were making the most money on. Where SunDisk, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, had 10%, and then Zune from Microsoft, I've never heard of, had like a very little bit, but that ended up becoming obsolete after that. 3 and 4, the bargaining power of customers and suppliers respectively. This is somewhat important because customers in mass numbers can kind of dictate the price of things. If something is too expensive, customers can use their dollar votes and not buy the thing. If it's really, really cheap, they can use it, but they're not going to be able to have that much of a profit margin. So you want to have, sell your things in a way that customers are going to buy them, but also in a way that it's not too expensive to where they won't as well. What happened is Apple ended up pricing their things to the customers. It's a little more expensive, but I think the customers feel like it's worth it because Apple's products are a little better than most. So it was worth it. Now, the suppliers is a similar situation. Apple chooses whether or not the supplier's raw materials are worth it or not. If the supplier's raw materials are too expensive, they don't get it. They go to other people for raw materials where they can kind of bargain with the price or whatnot. Last is the intensity of the competitive rivalry. This stipulates the level of advertising, marketing, and innovations that firms are going to use. If there's not a whole lot of competition, they obviously don't have to use that much money, but back in 2006 it was a huge time where the competition was pretty much as it is today, although Apple's situation today is better than back then, but it was definitely a huge thing, and firms were spending millions and millions of dollars on that. Okay?
Okay, so in regards to the internal environment and internal strategy, Apple utilizes a resource-based view of strategy, which emphasizes the internal capabilities of the organization in formulating strategy to help gain a competitive advantage. In other words, Apple has the capabilities to configure and reconfigure itself to move with the rapidly changing environment. Their ability to innovate successfully is a distinctive capability which has proven very effective. And as you can see, studies show that they are unrivaled in innovation and product design. Apple's objective, according to Steve Jobs, was this digital hub which was going to move the organization into the future. The digital hub kind of targets all the technological devices, which include iPods, DVD players, CDs, you name it. Apple is the only computer company that controls and designs the development of the entire personal computer. And their products are known for their innovative industrial design, intuitive ease of use, and built-in network graphics and multimedia capabilities. Apple is corresponding to the rapidly changing environment, and this makes them very adaptable to change. And moving into the corporate culture, aside from being adaptable to change, their culture is very open and individualistic. They encourage self-expression and creativity, and they see that as a competitive advantage. And their relatively casual and direct contact with managers allows the workers to work together to solve strategic issues. Another core competency of Apple Corporation is that they have a very expanded distribution market where they have stores where people can go in, and they are in highly traffic locations. And you can go in, and you go in and you look at the computer and you're able to play around with it, and you also have a knowledgeable employee speaking to you about the computer. And in regards to the strengths and weaknesses, I'll turn it over to Michelle, who will speak on the SWOT analysis.
Apple's strengths are the following. Brand awareness. Apple maintains an aggressive campaign for high quality through marketing and engineering efforts. Second is reputation for quality, the strong capability in basic research. Apple continues to develop new products and technology to enhance existing products in the areas of hardware, peripherals, system software, you name it. Another strength would have to be the experienced top management. Jobs led Apple back to the future, implemented the new direction to lead the company to success, as my fellow members have mentioned. Another strength would have to be their extended distribution channels. Sold its products worldwide through the online stores, its own retail stores, its direct sales force, and third-party wholesalers, resellers, and value-added resellers. Another strength would have to be their knowledgeable customer service, there is a strong emphasis on this sort of customer service throughout the company, because Apple believes a high-quality buying experience with knowledgeable salesperson who can convey the value of the company's products was crucial to the company's success. Now for the weaknesses. Unfortunately, Apple maintains a low international market share at this point. Apple's worldwide share did not place it among the top-selling PCs such as HP or Dell. Another weakness would have to be that Apple follows a differentiation strategy in which product imitability is high and the strategy is not easily sustained. Another weakness is that the company is susceptible to changes in foreign currencies, exchange rate fluctuations, and international trade regulations. Margins on sales on the company's products in foreign countries that included components obtained by the foreign suppliers could be adversely affected with this currency change. Another weakness would have to be the lack of community service efforts. As of now, really Apple hasn't engaged in much community service compared to other companies. Opportunities, well, Apple has the opportunity to develop its iTunes and music player technology into a mobile phone format. As we've seen, Singular is approaching a similar strategy with joining Napster. We also have new products with the use of wireless technology. Apple has the opportunity to leap into the wireless industry in order to provide for greater performance, range, and improved reliability. Another opportunity would have to be the entrance into the entertainment industry. Apple has the opportunity to do with the entertainment industry what it did with the music industry, with the iPod, with the iTunes Music Store. Another possibility would have to be the possibility with the Beatles, which may give Apple Computer iTunes an exclusive to their recordings. Threats. Apple is subject to aggressive pricing. It, of course, has increased competition with the more products it innovates. It has a high product substitution effect, and the entertainment industry, because of what happened with the music industry, is strongly avoiding what Apple can do with the entertainment industry. And of course, Steve Jobs' health. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2004.
there's an app to deal with the pancreatic cancer that actually was taken away.
Yeah, why not?
All right, so this is, as consultants, we took a look at all the problems facing Apple at this time, and we gave them some real good advice. So what's happened during this time is that when Steve Jobs went out on his own, he actually started another computer company called Next. Apple acquired this company for $402 million, and in doing so acquired Steve Jobs back as the CEO. And with that leadership, CEO entered a new phase, or Apple entered a new phase of its growth and development. Vertical growth. Apple stores can now be seen anywhere, right? We have them in Aventura, have them in all types of malls. These stores have been a great injection of wealth into Apple's business model, and that will continue to grow in the years to come. Next. Outsourcing. Apple is able to really have high profit margins because they're able to outsource and control very tightly how they outsource. So that's been a great blessing for them. Horizontal growth. They're very in control of how you get your music, right? You buy an iPod, automatically you have to download iTunes in order to access that. So now they give you the platform, and they're in control of how you get to buy your music, and they're making money off each song that you download. So what's next for Apple, right? I asked that question to you, and it could be many things, but I foresee growth in the BRICS. We are taking a look at Brazil, Russia, India, China, massive potential in the Chinese market especially. Currently we have 307 million. You look at China, they have 2.4 billion expected, or I'm sorry, 1.3 billion people. So a huge market, and that's been it hasn't been leveraged, because if you look at the stores that they're opening currently in China, they only have 4 stores compared to the 236 in the United States. So as you can see, they're taking that initiative already and scheduled to open many stores in China. So this is kind of what we foresee happening. Lots of growth internationally for Apple. Next is the imitation of the product. We see a lot of Apple knockoffs, especially or imitators that are coming after that same market share with the Android market. So in order to avoid that competition, Apple needs to continue to do what they do very well, which is innovate and come up with new products, new iPads, iPhones, etc. So keep that investment up in R&D. We need a next big hit, or well, hopefully as they've had in the past. So we need to ward off, and they're doing that with the iCloud coming up. A great new product launch for Apple. So they currently have several products in their pipeline. And they have to continue to expand partnerships with Verizon. When Verizon opened up, that was a huge boost for iPhone sales. So they need to continue doing, creating strategic partnerships, not just domestically, but internationally, and especially in Hollywood, where there's a huge potential to make money off DVD or movie streaming and downloads. So this is kind of showing you that over the past couple months, iPhone subscribers have been declining, but there's room, especially for, next slide, is room especially in the enterprise. A lot of people are getting off BlackBerries, so one of our recommendations is to tell Apple, hey, why not launch products specifically for that user demographic that is leaving BlackBerry and focus more on the enterprise. There's huge growth and potential there. Lack of community service, this has been one of the bad PR moments for Apple, so we are recommending that they change that around, increase a lot of the involvement in the community. That's great for PR, you're going to benefit tons in marketing and awareness, and that's the right thing to do, right? And as a company, you want to do the right thing. So we want Apple to show its people love, right? And the way that we're recommending that they do that is by opening up Apple computer centers in the inner cities. And why not reach out to those students that really love music, love maybe putting together videos, and give them the equipment, and you start creating Apple fans at a very early age, which will lead to a higher value for that customer. And we see it now in college, right? If you look around most college campuses, there's more Apple products, and usually when you convert at the college age, you're probably going to be a lifetime Apple customer. And when you go into business and you become a CEO of the business, that's probably what you're going to use throughout your organization. So you want to start them young, and it's great as well for the community. So those are some of our ideas, and we also got very creative and see where do we see Apple in 5 years? Where are we? What direction are we heading in? Are we going to see the iBoard come out, or maybe the iMac in 2014, or maybe an iPhone wristwatch is coming up next, or the iBangle? But you know, once you create a customer from the beginning, you're really an Apple customer all the way to the end. So thank you very much for your time.
All right.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Quick
what
one.
next? What did you learn from Sajid? Not Sajid. What's her name? Flavia.
Yeah.
Flavia. What did you learn from doing this project?
I learned way more about Apple than I thought I
Yeah,
knew.
like
You
specifically?
pretty much, you start off, you're aware of the company, you're aware of what it does, what it produces, but you don't know the financials, you don't know the ups and downs, the strengths and weaknesses of the actual company. Something that was, upsetting, but it's something that, we suggest is the giving back to the community, something that Apple hasn't done, which if you compare it to other companies are reaching out, and that's something that
Outsourcing. You were saying they outsource. What do they outsource?
Okay, they outsource a lot of the products themselves, the little pieces that make up the iPhone, but they also control that very tightly to make sure that the quality is up. And they have huge profit margins on those iPhones. So that's been
Not just the
Yeah,
iPhone, the
pretty
iPad,
much.
Yeah.
and the iPod, and pretty much
we get
everything that
from
they don't do
China
in-house.
besides the software.
Okay, so they.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot.
The
But
battery.
Those are
they
chips
said-
are not, the chips are Intel's. All
Yeah.
Mac, all
Right
Mac.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, right now.
For the phone or Samsung? For the
Okay,
iPhone.
all right, good. Just wanted a little bit more specifics on that. All right, good job. I'm gonna go over to the next team because we're running out of
Awesome.
time.
Awesome.
Thank you.